Have to be survivors in Washington.
Oh, my.
They have more sophisticated shelters than this one. There have to be people in those shelters who know about us, who know where we are, with no radio contact.
When Day of the Dead was released in 1985, it arrived as the third chapter in George A. Romero's groundbreaking zombie saga, following Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. This film marked a darker, more introspective turn for the series, a descent into despair and madness as the world of the living continued to collapse under the weight of the undead apocalypse. While the first two films explored the chaos of survival and the consumerism of modern society, Day of the Dead delved into something even more haunting, the failure of humanity itself, trapped between scientific ambition, military aggression, and the decay of civilization. It was the most claustrophobic and emotionally intense of Romero's trilogy, set deep underground, where fear, mistrust, and desperation had become as deadly as the zombies waiting above. The story unfolds in an underground military bunker where a small group of scientists and soldiers are attempting to find a solution to the zombie outbreak that has consumed the world. The balance of power inside this facility is fragile from the start. The scientists, led by Dr. Logan, are trying to understand and control the undead through experimentation, while the soldiers, under the ruthless command of Captain Rhodes, are losing patience and sanity. Their isolation and hopelessness create an atmosphere of psychological horror that grows heavier with every confrontation. Sarah, one of the main scientists, becomes the voice of reason amid the chaos, fighting not only to survive but to preserve some sense of humanity. The claustrophobic tunnels, flickering lights, and cold metal walls become a prison for everyone inside, symbolizing how humanity is trapped by its own arrogance and fear. Unlike Dawn of the Dead, which offered bursts of dark humor and social satire, Day of the Dead is relentlessly grim and philosophical. Romero used the film to explore how people behave when all systems of order collapse. The military represents control through violence. The scientists embody reason through experimentation, and the zombies, in a twisted way, represent nature reclaiming dominance over humankind. It's a film that questions who the real monsters are, the undead that simply follow instinct, or the living who destroy one another in the name of survival. The conflicts between the characters escalate to a breaking point, and when the system finally collapses, all that's left is chaos and bloodshed. The tension builds gradually, and by the time the final act erupts, it feels like the inevitable end of humanity's experiment with control. The film's tone is heavy, and its atmosphere feels more oppressive than its predecessors. Much of that is due to the underground setting, which gives the story a sense of confinement and despair. There's no sky, no sunlight, no escape, only steel corridors and echoing screams. The production design makes the bunker feel both militaristic and decayed, reflecting the moral and mental deterioration of those living inside it. The isolation amplifies paranoia, making every confrontation explosive. Even before the zombies break through, it feels like something terrible is constantly lurking, not outside the walls, but within the people themselves. Every character is under immense psychological strain, and Romero uses that pressure to explore the fragility of human civilization. One of the most unforgettable elements of Day of the Dead is its groundbreaking special effects, by Tom Savini. The makeup and gore effects are among the most realistic and disturbing ever created for a horror film at that time. The zombies look grotesque, rotting, and eerily lifelike. When the violence erupts, it's graphic and unflinching, not for shock value, but to drive home the raw brutality of the world these characters inhabit. Savini's work was revolutionary, setting a new benchmark for practical effects in horror. The climactic scenes, where flesh is torn and chaos reigns, are unforgettable in their intensity. They helped cement Day of the Dead as one of the most visually horrifying films of its era, yet also one of the most artistically accomplished in its depiction of decay and destruction. A key part of what makes the film so intriguing is the character of Bub, a captured zombie who shows signs of intelligence and memory. Through Bub, Romero explored the idea that perhaps the undead are capable of learning, and that maybe they are evolving. Bub's moments are strangely emotional, blurring the line between monster and victim. His interactions with Dr. Logan suggest a twisted form of empathy, even as the world outside falls apart. It's a profound idea that adds depth to the film, suggesting that even after death, there's something human left within the creatures humanity fears most. Bub became one of the most iconic figures in zombie cinema, symbolizing Romero's constant desire to challenge expectations and push the genre beyond mere horror. The performances throughout the film are raw and intense. Lori Cardille as Sarah brings a calm yet determined presence, holding the story together as everything around her collapses. Joe Pilato as Captain Rhodes delivers one of the most memorable and explosive portrayals of authority gone mad, his anger boiling into pure villainy. His character's violent descent mirrors the breakdown of the world itself. Richard Liberty's Dr. Logan adds a disturbing sense of obsession and madness, a man so consumed by his research that he loses touch with morality. The clashing personalities create a constant sense of volatility, as if every moment could ignite into chaos, and when it finally does, the results are devastating.
Despite its brilliance, Day of the Dead faced a difficult reception when it first premiered.
Many audiences and critics at the time found it too dark, too slow, or too grim compared to the more action-packed Dawn of the Dead. Its tone was deeply pessimistic, and its vision of the future offered little hope. However, over the years, its reputation grew immensely. Fans and filmmakers alike came to recognize it as one of Romero's most intelligent and uncompromising works. It may not have had the immediate impact of its predecessors, but it became a cult classic, a film that rewards deeper reflection and analysis. Today, it's seen as one of the most mature and thematically rich entries in the zombie genre, influencing countless filmmakers who sought to balance horror with psychological and social commentary. Romero's direction in Day of the Dead is masterful in its restraint. He uses tension and dialogue to build unease before unleashing sudden bursts of terror. The pacing may feel slower, but that deliberate rhythm allows the audience to sink into the atmosphere of dread. The film is less about the external threat of zombies and more about the internal collapse of the human spirit. The score, with its haunting electronic tones and eerie rhythms, complements the bleak visuals perfectly. It feels like a lament for humanity, a requiem for a world that destroyed itself long before the dead ever rose. Every scene serves to reinforce that message, showing how ego, pride, and fear can do more damage than any external enemy. What makes Day of the Dead stand apart from other horror films is its refusal to offer easy answers. It doesn't glorify violence or present survival as triumph. Instead, it shows that survival can come at the cost of one's humanity. Romero crafted a story where everyone loses something: their sanity, their purpose, or their lives. The film ends on a note that's both haunting and strangely peaceful, suggesting that even after all the blood and chaos, there might still be a faint glimmer of life beyond destruction. But that peace feels fragile, temporary, and uncertain, as though the nightmare could begin again at any moment. Over the decades, Day of the Dead inspired remakes, tributes, and sequels, but none could fully capture the power and originality of Romero's vision. His version remains definitive, a film born from the anxieties of the Cold War era, reflecting fears of military dominance, scientific overreach, and the loss of morality. It's as much a psychological study as it is a horror film filled with metaphor and meaning beneath the gore. Modern audiences continue to discover and reappraise it, finding that its themes remain as relevant as ever. The conflict between knowledge and power, between fear and control, is timeless, and Day of the Dead portrays it with chilling clarity. In the end, Day of the Dead is more than a zombie movie. It's a grim meditation on human nature and the consequences of division, greed, and mistrust. Romero created something far deeper than a simple tale of survival. He crafted a mirror reflecting society's darkest tendencies. Every scream, every argument, and every act of violence in the film speaks to something profoundly human. It's a film that dares to ask not just how humanity dies, but whether it truly deserves to survive. With its haunting visuals, unforgettable performances, and uncompromising message, Day of the Dead stands as a monumental achievement in horror cinema, a chilling reminder that sometimes the real terror isn't outside, it's within.